And when's this drama going to be out?
The drama will be on BBC4 on the 11th of December.
Okay, cool. Well, if you want to hook us up, our documentary's going to be done in 12 weeks.
Thank you. I've got to go.
Definitely every walk of life in Stokes Croft. So you've got every sort of creative that you can imagine, from you know, someone sitting around drinking a bottle of cider to someone sat behind him painting the guy who's drinking the bottle of cider on the wall behind him.
You walk around the street and you see the artwork on every single building you walk past. Do you know what I mean? There is a movement of youth. You're talking to the powers that be by noising up the walls.
All the shops, all the food, all the people, all the music. You've got the canteen, you've got the Croft, you've got that new bar called number 51, I think, as well. You've got a new place called the Bank. All the little cafes. It's just great, you know, you've got a nice mixture of people, everyone seems to get on. There used to be a whole, you know, a bad stigma about this place, but now times have changed, you know, everyone's really culturally together, basically.
Stokes Croft is an area of Bristol which has developed a huge amount over the last few years. From a rundown area of deprivation and the scene of the notorious St Paul's riots of 1980, the neighbourhood has slowly transformed into a bustling and vibrant community, home to a very lively music and arts scene. The aim of this film is to highlight some of the main aspects that bring such a varied group of people to the area, and some of the concerns of local people regarding the future. Bristol has had a prominent art scene for many years, from the subversive street art of Banksy to the more traditional stylings of Jerry Higgs. In more recent years, Stokes Croft has become a hub for local artists to paint, sculpt and exhibit their art. In particular, there have been several spaces provided for street artists to practice and display their work. This has also led to a campaign to turn the area into an open-air art gallery for artists to legally display their work in the streets.
But yeah, I think it's always been quite a vibrant scene really. It's always been going kind of hand in hand with music, especially like 3D was bringing over a lot of the writers at the time from New York, and they'd come straight from New York to Bristol, paint Bristol and then go over to London. It's got a much more relaxed scene in a way. You get a lot of the old school writers painting with the younger writers. I think so, in London you wouldn't really see, so you get quite a lot of people just kind of painting with themselves, or
a lot of competition.
Yeah, lots of competition. Where I think that down the further southwest, you get a lot more people, a lot more laid back and
mild west. Yeah, wicked. Is there any like graphers that to look out for, the future graphers that have been doing interesting things recently?
There's loads. I think there's Freedom. He's one to look out for. He's doing loads of good stuff at the moment. And Seppa, all those sort of KTF boys, and a lot of businesses that are kind of taking it on really, until they've seen that a lot of artists have kind of gone away and asked permission to paint pieces, and it just brightens up the area really. And so a lot more people are starting to paint and picking up spray cans, which is kind of a good thing and sometimes a bad thing in a way. But it's changed a lot since. I mean, when I first started, probably back in 2000. Back then, when I was painting, you couldn't just paint on the streets like you can now and get away with it. So we go bombing at night and go paste ups in the day, and then practice our painting in abandoned buildings if we were a bit embarrassed about painting back then, because we weren't as good as everyone else. So we'd go into abandoned buildings and just practice what we're using cans and that kind of thing.
Kind of used to it, but at the same time people are still phoning them up and telling them where it's going on. So I guess some people are going to like it, some people don't. Can't please everyone. It's good. I mean, it's there's legal places to paint all over the place, but not kind of in the public eye so much. So it's kind of nice to kind of have places to go to, you know, to walk miles to, or climb into, or sort of, you know, risk getting into serious trouble for. So yeah, it's good. Generally get varied reactions. So that's the good thing about Bristol is it's a variety, you know, from illegal to sort of legal. There's a massive spectrum. It's all pretty inspiring. So yeah, it's all good. And the thing is with the graffiti thing, it's kind of, it sort of goes hand in hand with hip hop and things like that. But there's also another side to it where there's all types of genres of music now. And people that are into all different types of music paint, so they kind of mix together, and that kind of gets. It's eclectic, I suppose, because Bristol's pretty eclectic anyway for music. So it's a fairly mixed bag of everything going on. It's got its good and bad sides, quite, you know, extreme. So it's an extreme place, it's an emotional place. Like, you know, lots going on, but at the same time, lots of bad stuff going on as well as really good stuff. So I think it's just interesting. It's just a weird place. You slip through almost doing stuff like this, because in places like Clifton you can't just rock up and paint a wall. It's just not going to happen. It'll give you 5 minutes. But places like this where everything's boarded up anyway, people don't notice it so much. It'll be interesting to see as the area improves and these eventually get turned into something where everyone's going to paint and how it's going to change. So I guess, you know, there'll always be places that don't have as much money, so those places will generally become places people go to paint because they get away with it.
Beautifully, the paint and the hair, you can do the wild styles of lettering, like in an organic way you can do it with the hair, so it's kind of, to me, it's like doing intricate hair, it's like doing wild style pieces. So I've been painting graffiti since 1984. I started painting in Bristol, up in Redland. Kind of went through the whole hip hop stage of painting graffiti here. It was always like that up until the late 80s, and then there was a massive bust and it kind of died down a little bit. And then when it came back around in like the late 90s, there was this whole street art thing, which was more logo based, a bit more skateboard graphic stuff. And that kind of changed things around from being lettering and characters through to people doing like simple logo or monograms that you can see just in the blink of an eye on the bus. Which changed for me from being a sort of hip hop wild style based thing to a kind of graphic based thing, which is hence why I started doing my women icons and stuff, and they're much more simple to do as well. So I always played in arcades as a kid. I was like in the arcades every night. And when I moved to London, I basically was to further my graphic career, and I was working for an agency, doing loads of work for like big companies and stuff. And then I got a job at Sega for a couple of days, and my boss left, and I became head of department. And I got headhunted by Xbox. I went back, set up. Sega went down after Dreamcast. I went back, set up the whole thing. So I was pretty much running Sega for about 12 years design-wise. And it's just a dream job really. Like, I employed loads of people, and I walked out about 3 years ago. So Jet Set Radio, I did all the packaging, did in-game graffiti. There was Eric Hayes and stuff working on that as well. I've done several other guys. Sega Superstars Tennis, I did all this court tennis graffiti. It's something I think going forward I'm probably going to go back to, doing digital graffiti for games and supplying them. Like for each city we used to sort of give them knowledge on New York who were the writers to use and bits of artwork to feed into game and stuff. So it's really interesting work to do. Stokes Croft, when we used to paint down there, I mean, there used to be a place called the Demolition Ballroom where Wild Bunch used to do on the corner of Ashley Road, and it was all squats, and there was like a lot of junkies and prostitutes down there, so it was quite a rough area. That's where you kind of went to school with weed and stuff. And I think what the PRSC's done when they was brilliant, the fact that they're bringing the art down there, I think, you know, they're never really control it, so you always get an element of chaos down there, which I love. And I mean, it's a great thing for the area, really. I think you could have more of that in Bristol. Yeah, and the fact that, you know, if they got Starbucks down there, it'd be ruined. It's that kind of thing, you know, you've got cafes that are nice independent shops and stuff opening. If it starts getting too commercialised, it'll ruin the whole area. Got big plans for Bristol as far as trying to promote it worldwide, really. I mean, Bristol doesn't get enough of its props, I don't think, outside of Bristol. And if you look at most of the street arts in the UK, the best ones, I say the top 25% come out of Bristol, or have been through Bristol for like their learning progress, like Sick Boys, Will Barris, Jago, myself, Nick Walker, Banksy, 3D. I mean, the list goes on and on.
The Bristol vibe comes from it being a port city, import output. London, East London, Port City, Liverpool, Port City. So these places where there's a lot of in and a lot of out, a lot of trade. That's where I think you get this sort of culture.
My name is Lawrence Barnes, aka Astro Snare. I'm a music hip hop producer. Born in '77 in England, raised in Chicago. Okay, listen, I came back to England in '98. And when I came back to England in '98, I met up with a guy from New York, alright? His name's Rob. Rob G is what I call him, alright? And my man is from New York. He's an older man, he's older than me. He's like a big brother. He kind of took me under his wing. Okay, now what I'm telling you, right, is that he lived with me, and then he moved out about a year, maybe a year and a half after that. He left all of his stuff in my hallway, and I told him to come pick it up. And he said to me, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. So I threw pictures of his daughter away, pictures of his brothers away, pictures of his mothers away. He even came to the house and even helped me throw some of it away. And there's these 2 books that I called him, I said, what do you want me to do with these graffiti books? And he said, keep them, they're yours. So that's where the story begins. Let's go. These 2 books right here have legendary artists from New York in this book. I'll give you one image. One. You see this here? See that? Ghost scene. See that? That's the crew you're dealing with, alright? That's the crew you're dealing with. There's a guy in that book called Fade, who also is from New York, who's one of the most biggest artists, who's worked with LL Cool J, everyone, you know, he's the one who gave hip-hop an image, basically. He gave, you know, when you saw people walking around with a Daffy Duck on their t-shirts or airbrush stuff, this was Fade. Also, what I'm saying to you is that my man Fade is in this book, and he writes his name in bubble letters since 77 to 81. I'm pleased to have some of that stuff in his early days. So this is what we're dealing with. No lie. Go check it on Google if you need to. Listen, this is over with now. Thank you very much for coming to the South. Bless Vince and his shop helping launch this. Thank you very much. I'm out. Thank you.
You know, it's always been the sort of more run-down areas and mixed areas with different sort of races and different sorts of people and all that. You know, it's always become the more sort of artistic, bohemian, you know, sort of thing areas, didn't it? Because years ago it was cheap to live here. You know, rents were cheap, everything was cheap.
Aside from its long-running graffiti scene and struggles to turn the area into an open-air art gallery, Stokes Croft has also become a home to many other mediums of art. One organisation that have provided a space for hundreds of artists to create and share their art is Coexist, based in Hamilton House.
Coexist was set up about 2.5 years ago, and it was on the invitation of the people who own the building, Martin Conley and Eddie Callahan. And they, as owners of the building, they said, let's try and give something back to the community. Let's try and build something that could be useful for the communities of the future. And they invited Ollie Wells and myself and 2 other colleagues to come up with a vision for the space.
It's quite an eclectic mix of stuff happening in Hamilton House. There's over 100 tenants now, so there's lots of artist studio space, there's social enterprises working in the building, there's plans for a music floor lower down to have rehearsal and recording space, there's bike workshops, there's a nice sort of hub of activity. And in this front block we're standing in, this is where the shop for tenant creativity goes. There's our event space, there's DMAC dance floors, and there's a wellbeing area and meeting rooms.
My name is Bandele, and I'm an artist, a visual performing artist, and I've decided I wanted to find a easier way to sell and communicate with people at the same time. And I thought that the best way to do it maybe is to just offer contributions.
Yeah.
Put up my artwork, you know, so that more people will be able to have my artwork and stuff like that. So what I've done is just make a little sign of just take a card and make a contribution. I want my work to be in more homes in Bristol than Banksy. So
there we go.
80% of the time, people actually contribute what they really think it's worth. Stokes Croft, I was about 2 weeks ago, was all packed up and heading off to London to go and work in London. And then I saw a little sign with somebody who was having a studio space to rent here. And I called them up and got a studio space, and I'm able to work with different artists here. And I really do love it because it's such a good vibration on Stokes Croft and Hamilton House as a whole. And all the people that I'm able to collaborate and work with. That's why I love it so. So that's why I had to postpone my trip to London now, and here I am on Stokes Croft on a lovely day with you, sharing it with all these wonderful people. The only thing I have to do, you know, sometimes I have to take away some of the money because some of the brothers and sisters out here have little problems that, you know, they're trying to deal with. So I can't make it too tempting for them. So sometimes I have to make it a little bit. So,
fair enough.
It's a museum. I mean, it's a museum of the present and recent past, but it's an archival space. The museum was created, it was inspired by the work done by the People's Republic of Stokes Croft, the PRSC. At the moment, it just functions as a museum, but I do want it to be used as more of an open space.
Major crime.
On Jamaica Street, outside the headquarters of the People's Republic of Stokes Croft, and we're just about to go and have a little tour around, which will hopefully give you some idea of what we're doing here to put the ideas that PRC is all about into practice. This is our gallery stroke shop, which is also where we have all our meetings. The No Tesco campaign runs out of here, No Tesco and Stokes Croft. So we have a gallery here which really fits in with the ethos of what we're doing. Anybody can turn up with a painting, anybody at all. It goes on the wall for 2 weeks. The artist chooses the start price and the finished price. The idea is that this becomes a place where we generate income for the local community, both for ourselves and for the people who live here. So if we come into here, you can see the beautiful carriage workspace. This is where they used to build carriages, actual carriages. This is why you've got the high ceilings. And this is one of the very first kit buildings. All of this steelwork was in a kit and it was delivered on site. So it is an industrial jewel. And because it's a carriage works, it means that everything moved around on wheels. So what we've done is build all our shelving so that it moves around on wheels. So all our display units will move easily. So
So what we're creating is a completely adaptable space, and the notion is that you know, even our buildings are sculpted. So currently, this end of the building is going to be gallery space, generating income, and shop space. We're going to turn this space into a factory using all of the old china that it's no longer manufactured. Actually, all of this old china comes from Stoke, and when all the factories went bankrupt due to the forces of globalisation, we bought a bucket load of it. And it's taking 1960s dinner plate prints and making them so stylish. And in the back here we have a massive stock of lithographs, which is what we're going to be using to manufacture. You know, when you consider that each sheet like this to buy would cost £5, this is a 1960s print, and we have shelves and shelves and shelves of it. So now we're going to go and have a look at our yard, which we built. This is Jake. He's busy sorting out what will be our toilet block out the back there. So, splendid, and onward. Let's go next door. Come on. Come on. This way. Come on, this way. Hurry up. Come on. See that the way we've built the pelmet, there's going to be lighting underneath. It's going to be puckered. It's going to be the first outdoor gallery. You know, you can come through here. And the idea is to create a functional yard so that we can actually start thinking about creating work here. And if the will is there, then we'll use this space as a space to curate Stokes Croft as an outdoor gallery. That's kind of the game plan. So if you come in here, this is going to be the office workshop, and this is some work that is currently being made. This little stool that Jamie Gilman's made, quite beautiful and a work of art in itself. That will go into the gallery, and that will probably sell for 20 quid. So that's it, that's your tour of the RSC. By next year I'm anticipating that we'll be in a situation where we'll be earning sufficient to run and grow, and that's what we need to do. End of.
These are the drawings. We've got people who are queuing to see the Banksy versus Bristol Museum today.
Yeah.
And I used to go there, well, whenever I had time, and hand out these cards and pens. Shout my head off to them to do a drawing for this show, which is happening a year and a half later. And I got 3,500 drawings, and stupid idea, because I have to put them all up.
Getting at us, outside influence, there's a lot of things pressuring us. So why you think you're better than us? Life's rough, but ain't nothing new to us. There's a lot of people getting at us, outside influence, there's a lot of things pressuring us. So why you think you're better than us? Life's rough, but ain't nothing new to us.
Do you know I'm below the poverty line, but still I got taxes robbing me blind. This meantime ain't even working class. I've seen the grime and weren't the first in class. I'm first in class and he
Lads,
lines to wait, walking down the line, slowing the pace. This time I screwed up my plate. All these white lines I have sexual sex. It's been 4 weeks since I've had a shower. The last 4 years.
I get a good vibe from Bristol, definitely. I play here quite a lot, and there seem to be so many clubs here, like especially the small ones and the little catacombs that are just hidden away in various places. But you know, it's kind of, I think, behind, you know, this kind of London, Bristol, Brighton seem to be the kind of main sort of music areas, probably followed by Manchester as well. So yeah, there's always been a good vibe here, and it kind of feels good to come and play here, and people kind of know their music, and obviously it's got a big reputation for kind of drum and bass and breaks and that kind of side of stuff, so I've got respect for it as a city musically, yeah.
Don't do it, be sincere, I'm crazy, don't do it.
The notorious Bristol sound developed throughout the 90s with artists such as Smith & Mighty, Massive Attack, Portishead and Ronnie Size whipping up a media frenzy about the dubby and bass-heavy music being produced. Having been a hub for people of all different cultures to gather over the last 60 years, Stokes Croft has become an epicentre for a variety of creative cultures and has formed a melting pot of inspiration for all types of music. The area's variety of clubs and music venues have been integral in nurturing such a vibrant scene.
In the sense of like, I don't live here, but every time I come down from Leeds or anything, I've always had big respect. The people in Bristol just love the vibes we've been giving as Irish steppers and as Hitachi back in the days. Ronnie Size, all them guys there, Danny G, Captain Croft, all they represent masses. A lot of men from way back love me, you know what I mean? So, Massive Attack, all them man, and it's called himself, you know what I mean? Not people, Strider, the works. So yeah, well, it's good response from here every time.
Bristol is one of the homes of raving in England, no doubt. Yeah, I've sparred the representative for a long time. Big up Bully, big up Guy, big up Croft, big up all the massive. Yeah man, Bristol is the spot. Bristol has definitely been doing it, and it ain't no new thing. Bristol's been doing it for a while.
Vibes in Bristol. Bristol people, yeah, the carnival and this place, fire, champion song, Joe 90 says so. One. In a Bristol, we don't walk with the pistol.
Bristol is a place that's just, it's like these, it's got vibes, it's got
history.
A musical history, yeah, a massive musical history.
Yes.
A massive musical history. Yeah.
What I see special up here is just like, they stick to the original jungle, you understand? It's just like, I don't see no bad vibes down here, it's just love. It's like back in the days when they come out there, everyone just comes to rave, and see no violence, no bad vibes, everyone just no love thing. So it reminds me of the original days, you understand?
For me, playing songs of my own out a lot when I moved to Bristol was really good, just for getting feedback in terms of how stuff was sounding on rigs and things, so my own production benefited from it. And then obviously at the same time, when you're out, you're meeting other producers, other DJs, you sort of link up with them and sort of get to know what they're about and the sort of sounds they're pushing, so you're kind of getting this sort of different sort of sources of inspiration, meeting a lot of sound people, and it's all in this wicked, really chilled out city. So like, you know, I think that's why it's so good for sort of anything creative. I mean, music's so strongly associated with it. I think even if the scenes here sort of quieten down, there'd still be people coming not just from the UK but from all over the globe wanting to come to Bristol because their sort of favourite artists are based here, and I think you're always going to get this sort of influx of creatives coming here. So I mean, I can't see anything too bad happening with it because it seems pretty healthy at the moment. The gigs I was doing in the first couple of years, sort of getting my name out there in Bristol, a lot of them were sort of places up there, whether it's sort of the Croft or playing at the Dakota or something like that, and like a lot of people I know sort of based in North Bristol around there, and it does seem to be like the main hub for it, because I'm sort of south of the river based, and which seems to have quite a lot of creatives there now, and a lot of people sort of moving there. But I definitely noticed a lot of people I knew sort of based in Stokes Croft, and I think you've got the artwork, you've got the buildings, you've got a lot of different sort of communities there, and it's just, I think it's just a good combination of a lot of things that does sort of lend itself to being that sort of more creative, bohemian, if you will, kind of area, and I think it's sort of quite essential to the whole thing, you know, whether it's sort of sort of Blue Mountain or Clockwork and things like that. I mean, going to Clockwork when I moved to Bristol was just wicked, man. That club was just awesome, you know, and again, through that you meet people and other link-ups happen, so yeah, I think it's pretty important to the sort of Bristol music scene. I know there's a few issues with certain supermarkets opening there and people worrying that it's going to lose a lot of the sort of unique character it's got there, you know, if it's another sort of clone of many other city centres and the same shops and things and local businesses pushing out, and you know, and if then you got these Ponzi flats coming in and all the creators have to move elsewhere, you know, I could see it could lose some of the identity, but I get the impression the people based there probably aren't going to let that happen, you know. I think it's really important to them, and you know, I can't see it happening. It's wicked, I love it, man. It's chilled, good people, and like, whether you want to get fully involved in the scene and be out sort of networking at all the nights 24/7, or you just want to chill at home and listen to the music that's being made here, I just love it, and I couldn't see myself moving anywhere else in the UK from here. I think it would have to be somewhere nice and sunny and warm, and not very snowy, I think, but yeah, enough respect for Bristol.
The abandoned structure of Westmoreland House has been an eyesore on Stokes Croft for many years. Having been empty for over 20 years, the building has attracted the attention of Bristol City Council, who are keen to have the land developed upon. The local community, however, is concerned about the future of the space and whether the development will benefit the area.
That was my playground, basically. When I was a kid, I used to love that building, going through painting constantly. If you couldn't paint in the day in the streets.
I mean, it's ugly, so as long as it goes, I mean, as long as it doesn't turn into Tesco's or whatever flats, that'd be nice.
I just think that it's become one of those things that's sort of like one of the alternative landmarks of Bristol, really, and really symbolic, particularly of Stokes Croft in the area.
Since then, since about 88, 89, the place has stood empty. So it's been empty for certainly 20, 30 years now. So there are whole generations of Bristol that just remember it as an empty, gutted building. Basically, in summary, what we want to do is just benefit the area as much as we possibly can with this development, as opposed to squeezing as much profit out of the area as possible. And I think that's incredibly important, to put stuff back and make sure that you network what you're doing.
Okay, well, Westmoreland House, it's a property that's been derelict for a considerable amount of time. My understanding is it's owned by the Comer brothers. Their property company is called OPEC Prime Development, I believe. Recently they attempted to get planning permission to create 160 plus luxury, principally one-bed apartments in the building. It was a scheme that effectively meant demolishing Westmoreland House and rebuilding the tower. The Comer brothers, my understanding is that they've owned that property for something like 22 years. I think they have left it empty for the longest time. So it's a shell building. And what we have now is a situation where this property is really the linchpin of what could happen in Stokes Croft, and conventional development by a property developer to squeeze in lots and lots of small one-bedroom flats is probably the very last thing that needs to happen in this area. And it seems to me that this is actually a golden opportunity for us to reverse the current trend and to take this property back, to do something genuinely innovative, genuinely exciting, using the buildings as they are. That's where I'd like to see us going with it. There has been much talk of Bristol City Council compulsorily purchasing the property to force Comer's hand. Now, unfortunately, the problem with that is that in order to accomplish a compulsory purchase scheme, you have to have a plan for what you're going to do with the property, and that would almost certainly inevitably involve a partnership with another company like OPEC Prime Development to build lots of one-bedroom apartments. So even the idea of compulsorily purchasing the property would inevitably lead to another development that really wouldn't serve Stokes Croft very well. And so it seems to me that what we need to be doing is to find a way for the community, with or without Bristol City Council or in partnership with Como Homes, to produce something that would genuinely serve the needs of community. This place could be a centre for the performing arts. And I think really that's the way we need to be going. We need to be much more gentle with our infrastructure, and even Westmoreland House, which is generally considered a 1960s monstrosity. But it seems to me that given that we have now got this structure, and given that we need to be looking at more ecological ways of treating our world, then perhaps we should be looking at refurbishing what is essentially a solid structure. And there would be something poetic about turning something that has been seen as the biggest carbuncle in Stokes Croft into the most exciting and interesting building without doing very much, and just very gently refurbing what we've got, and a firm commitment to not knocking down our buildings. I mean, we're still living under the threat of the Lakota being knocked down, and Clockwork is scheduled to be knocked down. And when you actually start to look at it, you can see that many of the problems of this area are directly attributable to poor planning decisions. It's now 2010 and we're looking at the possibility of yet another poor planning decision if Bristol City Council give permission for Tesco's to open, against the manifest and express wishes of the whole community. So Westmoreland House is an important battleground, and it is important that it be retained, warts and all, in my view.
I don't see it happening. I don't want Tesco's here, to be honest. I could ramble on about that for hours, but that's my main concern, really.
Of course, you were part of the protest wearing Tesco's bags as clothing, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there. I was
representing,
protesting. I don't want Tesco's here. I think it's really bad for the community, and it's going to diminish all the hard work that everybody in this community has put towards building it together.
All these riots over Tesco's, keep that going. Do you know what I mean? All of that sort of stuff. Everything that makes Stokes Croft, keep it Stokes Croft. Everything that makes it Paul, keep it Paul. So, do you know what I mean? I love every time I walk down Stokes Croft, it looks different. So everyone who makes that happen, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, it's that whole globalisation, you know, going down any high street, you've got the same shops back to back. If you end up without a Stokes Croft, you lose the character of the area. And I think Bristol's got a lot of character in certain areas, and it should retain that. If it loses that, it loses the soul of the city.
Which is why there's so much passion about making sure that Tesco's don't come here. Everywhere we're besieged by the corporates. We can see the rainforest being destroyed, and we can see that monoculture is happening elsewhere, but it's very difficult for us to see it when it happens on our own doorstep. And so when we have organisations like Tesco's who are moving into all the little tiny spaces, and it's quite clear that they do push out small businesses, then what we end up with is monoculture. So for me, it's got to be about long-term vision. It's got to be about the politics that will push that forward, because, you know, otherwise we're going to hell in a handcart.
It is abundantly clear what the applicant is attempting to do. By seeking to cram as much as possible into a space that is clearly not designed for such an operation, Tesco have shown that their goal is retail conquest by any means possible. This will certainly be damaging to the fragile but enduring local economy, and this is not acceptable. Net local employment would be certain to fall. I will remind you that Stokes Croft and Montpellier are both designated conservation areas, both defined by their independent local businesses and by their alternative culture, characteristics which are treasured to the extent that Stokes Croft now defines itself as Bristol's cultural quarter. I urge you to heed the winds of change, indeed to be in the vanguard of this change. Take courage. Back to the local community and refuse to allow any supermarket chain into our community. By all means, follow.
After hearing arguments from both sides, councillors voted in a 4-3 split to allow Tesco to develop on Stokes Croft. Local people have stated they will continue to oppose this development. How this affects the area will become clear over the next few months. During the production of this film, we have explored the local music and art scenes, met some of the people involved, and looked into their concerns for the future of the area. It has become apparent that there is a huge sense of community here that's felt by all involved and that will be fiercely protected by local residents. Whether or not this is a new development is not for us to say, but it's become clear that Stokes Croft has become a location for Bristol's culturally aware population to gather and support each other creatively.
It needed an identity and something to be proud of for a long time. It's an area that's been run down and neglected, and I'm kind of really glad that the sort of tag of cultural quarter that PRC sort of promoted a few years ago is starting to catch on and give all the artists and creative people who live in the area a sense of pride in where they're living and what they're up to.
Sort of 1,000 artists suddenly turn up and it just turns into some sort of like, you know, mecca for sort of Nigel hipsters, doesn't it? You just hang around in skinny jeans and day glow.
It's a real melting pot, there's a multicultural community and anything, you know, a lot of the buildings, like a lot of the pubs gone out of business and lots of dead buildings laying around rather than turning into a McDonald's or
Or Starbucks.
Or Starbucks or something, yeah. Something that's real, you know, real things for real people.
Stokes Croft says no. The picture does it all.
So the music scene was pretty, it was pretty varied. Reggae started coming in. I don't know if you've heard of reggae, I expect you have. We had that too. It was great, actually. Yeah.
When Stokes Croft and the movement of people here who more visiting this area too, also because of what's happening here, you know, this whole creativity kind of hub of it all.
Bristol.